Oh, they kept talking at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay, solid copy. See a breeze. And I don't know, it might be more convenient and easier if we just sit across from each other. Admiral, why don't you and the general sit over here? And Commodore, you can sit there. Mike, you want to sit over there?
Absolutely.
And we can talk a bit. Well, please have a seat. Make yourselves at home. Sit around out there.
Mr. Mentor, I'd also like to introduce, we have one of our coalition team members here.
Oh, hi. It's really nice to see you. Welcome.
Bill is from Netherlands, and he's on my staff permanently, but he also maintains a liaison with our coalition partners that are out.
Right, I know you have a ship also, I think.
Yes, sir.
Great.
Yes, sir.
And the rest of you, I'm David Greenlee, I'm the ambassador. Welcome to Embassy Emberland. Please sit down. Well, I'm glad you have it, your foreign affairs advisor, your whole out there. I think that's always useful for us at the State Department.
My first name is Frederick, F-R-E-D-E-R-I-C-K. Last name is Volz, V as in Victor, O-L-Z as in zebra. Staff Sergeant, and my billet is Platoon Sergeant for 2nd Platoon, Echo Company, 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines. We are doing embassy reinforcement. So the Department of State, or the embassy, requested additional support due to civil unrest in the area. That came down to our tasker, which we were prepared for. We flew in about 36 hours ago to reinforce the already MSG that are currently on deck. It's a very large-scale exercise to have more of Navy and Marine Corps cooperation in amphibious training, also getting our allies and our partners of various countries, Italy, Germany's here, Mexico, and more multinational training, building those ties within our allies and our partners and learning from each other. Who is participating in Bold Alligator? There's 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines. There are some multinational countries. Germany's here, France, Denmark, China, and some other ones I just don't recall off the top of my head. Also the Navy. I don't know particular units, but the Navy is also participating. We're providing ground embassy reinforcement. So we're a ground element that are reinforcing the already security here at the embassy. The reason they require more security is the forces, the Garnet forces in here have been trying to take over the government. They've been doing small-scale attacks, but more closely information warfare to discredit the government of Aberdeen. We're targeting their elites. They're not doing anything very symmetrical. It's very asymmetrical. Not only targeting their elites, but trying to withdraw support for the United States. So the civil unrest has been growing. More protests, while peaceful in nature so far, around the embassy, where the ambassador has decided that he needed some more Marines here. More Marines stabilizing is just additional Marines on post, keeping the security posture, and indirectly, showing support for this country because we're bringing more in and we want to stay here. We want ambassadors to stay here and work through and give as much help. So this shows the people that we take this seriously. We're not leaving. We're staying here, and we're going to help you through this. We are the security. Marines are the security for the embassies. One of the biggest challenges I've seen is we're trained in offensive, combat. I mean, that's what Marines do. So coming here, it's kind of a switch for an infantry unit to come here and just be a part of a security detail, as opposed to all the deployments that we train to. It's not something we've ever had to train to or had experience before. So it's kind of a mental switch in our head to, we have to protect our base, we have to protect our own, but we kind of have to some extent, maybe ignore some of the stuff that goes out, or be very cognizant of our actions so that we don't escalate the situation and start something in the political realm. They don't believe that, in my opinion, based off of the forces, the government forces and their information warfare that they're using, targeting the elites, that not only can the local government protect, but they're targeting that the Marines or the Americans cannot protect the populace. So if you get the Americans out, then we can protect the populace. So I think that information warfare is going on, creating this unrest where they believe them and want us out of here. One of the biggest challenges is how aggressive, I mean, what posture do we assume when dealing with the populace? I know we always have the right self-defense, but when we have peaceful riots out there, but we're trying to clear the way, what's the correct level of aggression to disperse or to move the populace without escalating the situation anymore? With this being my first time, I think things are going very well. The Department of State personnel that are here are invaluable asset. The amount of information that they've been able to teach us and how they do things and what they've been worked with has been invaluable with setting up our own SOP and how we're going to do business when we deploy.
My name is David Greenlee, David Greenlee. Well, I've been role-playing the ambassador to Amberland, and the situation has been deteriorating, lots of demonstrations and so forth. And we have requested reinforcement of the embassy by a Marine company. They came in yesterday, and they have been stiffening the defense of the embassy. And so that's all been in place. And meanwhile, we've had a visit from the commanding general who came off the ship with a rear admiral from the Navy and with a commodore from the Navy who's been in the country working on security assistance. So we all met at a pre-meeting at the embassy, discussed the situation here, and got ready for a meeting with the president of the country. Then we went over to have a meeting with the president. That's the scenario we've been playing. I think the purpose of Bold Alligator is to really test the integration of the Navy and the Marines in a very extensive exercise with a lot of moving parts and a great geographical reach. I've been involved in the development of the scenarios to some extent, at least as it regards the interagency components and the State Department piece. And a lot of things are being tested, and I'm really only involved in one part of it, but it's very ambitious and I think quite realistic. Well, I understand there are a lot of countries represented in the coalition. I think there could be as many as 19. I understand there's a Mexican ship, I think a Danish ship, there's a Dutch ship, and it's quite an integrated coalition staff. And part of it that I'm doing is not the military part. And so I've just been playing the State Department, and there are other interagency people playing roles that relate to the U.S. government and non-governmental organizations. The Marines are great crisis responders, and we, in the scenario, had a crisis, needed people to come in, needed military people to come in and augment the security of the embassy. In the scenario, the police outside the perimeter of the embassy would normally be there and be helping us, but they've all gone away, they've melted away. So we needed more security at the embassy, and the Marines came in and integrated with the security plan of the embassy. The rules of engagement were devised by the embassy and approved by the different factors involved in this. And the Marines who came in were working under Chief of Mission Authority, in other words, my authority as ambassador, and working under the regional security officer of the embassy. So I think that was very, very realistic and a bit of a change from the normal activities of the Marines, who simply work up a chain of command. It's military. Well, I think the challenges on both sides are a little bit cultural, and from the Marine standpoint, there are two cultural challenges. One is the host nation, people that are not used to, who do things in ways they're not used to doing themselves. And there's also the culture it's the military culture, and the culture that's the embassy culture, which is civilian and intergovernmental, so interagency, I should say, not intergovernmental. And they have to work through all of this. And I think that it is a challenge, and I think the Marines playing in the scenario did very well at this. Well, we're identified in the scenario with the government in the sense that we support the government and we support the institutionalization of the government. These are bad economic times in Amberland. A lot of people are upset and out of work, and then there are lots of issues that relate to differences between clans and other sociological issues. So there are a lot of things at work, and some of those things that involve a lot of discontent with the government, and they see the Marines coming in and supporting the embassy as being part of something they really reject anyway. And so that accounts for the demonstrators. There are other people in Amberland who very much support the embassy and the Marines coming in, and are lined up with the president, but they're the silent majority out there. So I think typically when there are problems in a country, you get demonstrations around U.S. embassies because the U.S. is such a big player internationally, and the thought is usually that if something's going wrong, somehow the U.S. could either fix it or is responsible for it going wrong. So the protests are fairly natural in our environment. Well, I think, again, the last 2 days, the first day was the embassy reinforcement. I think that went very well. I think today, the pre-meeting with the commanding general and with the Navy Rear Admiral and with the Commodore who's doing security assistance in country, and with the foreign policy advisor, a civilian who works for the commanding general. I think that pre-meeting went very, very well. We talked about a lot of different things that the Marines were doing and the Marines and the Navy together could do for the country, and how to describe that both privately to the president, but also publicly if asked. If there didn't happen to be a press conference, but certainly the commanding general was prepared to talk to the press if he had to. The follow-on meeting with the president, I thought, also went well. The president's typically, in this case, he's asked for the Marines to come in. There's a UN resolution that supports that, and there are other coalition forces that could be involved as well. So the president has asked for all of this, but when the U.S. components come in, and also there was somebody from the Netherlands, certainly the president's going to ask for everything that he can. So the way the meeting with the president played was quite realistic, with the president requesting assistance with displaced persons, with food resources, with water, infrastructure, lots of things. The commanding general had to be able to take aboard what he was saying, but without making any commitments or promises. And the ambassador had to be in the position of saying, look, if you need all this help, what you really want to do is declare a disaster, and we can bring in a civilian team under U.S. aid that can really assess your needs, and we can see, we can have a process for looking about how those needs might be addressed. And in other words, trying to make sure that we didn't leave that meeting promising what we couldn't deliver, but we gave the president a way to think about how we might structure his requests and how we might find a way to help deal with the requests, not just from the U.S. side, but involving the whole international